meeting for the Columbia Corridor Drainage District Joint Contracting Authority. And Wendy, if you could do roll call, please.
Yes, Claudio Campuzano indicated he is ill and can't attend. Karen Myers. Got you, can't hear you, Karen, so hopefully you can connect to audio.
There, Karen.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Karen, and Corky Collier.
Here.
And sorry, Tanny Stephenson.
Here.
Amy Chemowitz.
I am here.
Thank you. I see Karen, she's having audio issues, so we will, if we need to, Karen, we can, oh, maybe you're connecting. You can vote in the chat if necessary, but I think it's gonna work out.
And let's go on to Lori Baker.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. So in your packet today, you have information on some procurement threshold changes that we are proposing. This is after more than 20 years, the state of Oregon is updating their procurement rules related to the steps that we take when we do purchasing. And if you recall, our purchasing rules follow and align with the state's processes. And so this proposal is coming forth to you so that we can continue to be aligned with the state. These changes do not impact the board approval levels. They're updating the thresholds, which define the required steps in the procurement process. So I've documented the changes in this table, and this table is also included in your packet. For goods and services and construction contracts, the small procurement threshold is being increased to $25,000 from $10,000. So these small procurements do not require a competitive process to contract with a vendor. For professional services, the small procurement threshold is being increased to $100,000 from $50,000. And intermediate procurements that require a competitive process that's normally obtaining 3 or more bids from potential vendors. For goods and services, this threshold is being increased to $250,000 from $150,000. And formal procurements that require a formal RFP or request for proposal process with scoring criteria to determine the best bidder are required for anything that is more than $250,000. Okay, I'm going to pull my screen down. So we're asking today for you to consider these updates to the policy that will keep us aligned with the state of Oregon. I can answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay. If there's none, entertain a motion.
Also check Karen's audio again. Can we hear you, Karen?
I think you can.
Yes.
Just put some language in the chat if you care to use it.
Any further discussion, or is anyone wishing to make a motion at this time?
I'm going to guess that folks are hesitant for the same reason I am, which is, whoa, those are high numbers. But it makes sense that we align ourselves with the state. And I'm trying to find, there we go. So I will go ahead and make a motion to adopt resolution 2023-12-01-LCRB to adopt updated contracting rules effective January 1, 2024.
I can second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Just want to remind the board that the thresholds for board approval for staff haven't changed. So you guys are still seeing everything over 100,000, and you can change that if you want, higher or lower. So
it's a good reminder. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Yep. Appreciate that. Okay. And hearing none, have to do a roll call on this one, I believe. So go ahead, Wendy.
Karen Myers,
Oh, I vote aye.
Corky Collier,
Aye.
Tanny Stephenson,
Aye.
Amy Chumowitz.
Aye.
Okay,
Motion carries 4-0.
that carries. And now Lori is back up for round 2.
I'm back again. Let me share my screen. So in your packet today, you will see some information about some budget changes that we need to make in the current year. We are just finishing up with our audit processes, and in that process, we have identified some additional carry forward fund balance within the JCA entity that we need to include into the current year budget. And the reason we normally wouldn't do this, but the reason that we're doing it this year is this is the final year for JCA as an entity. If we don't transition to the urban district next year, JCA will exist only as a pass-through entity for the PMLS local match funding, but the remainder of the JCA activity is complete as of the current year. So the dollars that we have remaining to be spent in JCA all need to be spent this year. So we're coming to you to request budget authority for that spending. So I'll walk you through the adjustments that we're proposing and that have already been reviewed and approved and forwarded on to you from the LRC IGA board. So first, there's your carry forward fund balance. So we ended up last year with $42,000 more than what we projected. So those funds flow into this year and can be spent this year as long as we have the budget authority to do so. We're also updating our projections for interest revenue. Our interest rates on the LGIP, which is the local government investment pool, where we put our dollars for interest earnings, those interest rates have been going up. So we've been earning more money on those funds than what we anticipated. So we're adding in some dollars to cover that additional revenue as well. And then we're proposing that these additional dollars get utilized to extend our limited term part-time communications position. That's Evan's position. He's covering some communications functions for us. And with one of our team members out on family leave, we felt that it would be helpful to have him continue through till June to be able to support Colin and his team with the communications and community outreach event work that has been going on this year and needs to continue. So we've put the budget there. I've spent some time also with Colin and with Mark today taking a look at our projections for the current year for JCA. So we may see some categories of spending move around this year as we work to make sure that we spend all of those available funds. We'll be meeting with you after the beginning of the calendar year to walk through what our projections are. Our budget appropriations, as long as we have the total spending number right, that's the appropriations level that we're allowed to spend. So if things shift around a little bit, we'll make sure and communicate that with you, but we will be spending only for purposes that are allowed for in the JCA. So those are the changes. We've put all of the additional dollars that are coming in on that projects and planning for additional staffing to continue that part-time limited term position. And with that, I'm going to pull my screen down. And Colin and I are here and happy to answer any questions you may have about this. And as I said, LRC IGA board approved this at their last meeting and asked us to forward it on to you for your final approval.
Okay, questions for staff? Okay. I just have one. As we go through this, you're talking about other budget adjustments and moving things around, wouldn't anything that's left over just be transferred over to the new district?
No, anything that's left over according to our contracts with all of the contributing agencies would get divided up using the same allocation and sent back to them. So those dollars are not available to us to spend after this final year of JCA.
And we weren't planning on giving those back, right?
I don't like to give money back.
It's why we want to spend them all. Yes.
I will say the good news is that we were awarded an $800,000 grant by Business Oregon, but it did require a local match that's coming out of this budget. So we are working on getting those projects. It's a design effort. So those are going out to bid in January. And so we'll be making progress ahead of the in-water work window on all of those in the design phase. So there is a lot of work to be done with the money, and it does unlock $800,000 from the state, which is great.
That's great. Okay, with no questions, any comments from the board before we take up this item? Vote. No? Okay. Motion on the budget adjustment.
I believe this is just a motion.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Cookie. Yeah, I believe this is just a motion. So I put the language in the chat.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. Motion to approve budget adjustments for the 2023-24 fiscal year as recommended by the Levy Ready Columbia Intergovernmental Agreement Board.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, I believe we can do voice on this one. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that carries. Thank you all very much.
Okay, in this moment, you guys are my favorite board. Just saying. That could change in a few minutes, but right now, you guys are number one.
We've got it. Okay.
It's that pandemonium. I mean, what was the word?
So I wasn't sure how long this discussion would take. So I did tell everyone to join us at 1:30. So we have a little downtime right now. My apologies for that. But if there's any other matters, you have Colin here to update you on any JCA questions you might have.
I thought you were going to offer some kind of open mic session.
Yeah, he does do some good.
No, not for me. Not for me. I do have a good fresh one though, but not while we're recording. It's totally PG.
In case you missed it, Colin is the staff leader on dad jokes. So other duties as assigned.
So let's hear a dad. Can we stop recording so we can hear a dad?
No, if we're in session, we're in session. Otherwise, we can.
Well,
are they good dad jokes?
They're great dad jokes. I can vouch for Colin. He makes me laugh.
So it's fine if the board wants to recess until 1:30 if there isn't any other topic you'd like to discuss while you have your experts here.
I think that probably makes sense. Just take a quick recess, come back at 1:30.
Everyone okay with that?
And do you need the JCA back at 1:30?
Amy, you are free to go. If you'd like to hear the operations update, you're welcome to join, but it's informational only.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
But rather than adjourn, I think we'll just recess the JCA until 1:30.
Okay.
Okay. You all right?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon. The Columbia Corridor Drainage District Joint Contracting Authority is back in session. And at this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to SDIC President Tom Hansel.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the December 19th format meeting We need to call our boards to order, maybe starting with Pen 1. Annalise, I understand you're stepping in for Claudio today.
I am. Thank you so much, Tom. Okay, so let's see. Who do we have? Is PJ Christopher here?
Present.
Thank you. Jeff Noodleman?
Present.
And Tom Collette?
Present.
And Annalisa Curler is present. Pen 1, we're here and we are called to order.
Excellent. Thank you, Annalise. Pen 2, is Eric here today?
I am not.
I spoke to him yesterday. I got the impression he was planning to attend, but
I will reach out.
Do we have a quorum for Pen 2?
I believe we do. I can call the roll for them. Karen Myers. We heard you earlier. Karen, are you back with us? Oh, I got you muted. Mary Helen Kincaid.
Here.
And is Shayla Garcia with us? Dave Anderson. Eric Muller. So there's not a Pen 2 quorum yet. We will try and get a few people there. I'll reach out.
Thanks, Wendy. MCDD, Ken, you were here earlier. Did Ken
I'm here now.
Yep. You want to call MCDD order, please?
Yeah, Wendy, you want to do a roll call vote? Or a roll call? Not a vote.
Corky Collier.
Here.
Kenzie Berry.
Here.
Darian Santner.
Here.
Nikki Schultz.
Here.
Ken Anderton.
Here, and MCDD is in quorum.
Thanks, Ken. SDIC, Wendy, can you help us call to order?
Tom Hansel.
Present.
I've got an old list. Let's see. Chris Damgan.
Chris is still on leave.
Oh, that's right. Tanny Stephenson.
Here.
Annalise Kohler.
Present.
3 members present.
SDIC is called to order. I just want to give a note. Today is my last meeting with SDIC. I step out after retiring with Multnomah County. Taylor Steenbach is stepping in for the county's representative with the SDIC board. Very familiar with the work all the boards have been doing, and especially the urban. So I exit today at the conclusion. So it's been a fun ride. Moving on to our agenda today, we have an ops update with Randy Lyons.
Mr. Chair, may I take just a minute or two to, first of all, thank you and Taylor, and give a quick update on the urban and the bond measure? Would that be suitable for everyone? If not, I'm happy to wait.
Jim, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Well, first, Tom, thank you very much for many years of service at SDIC. We're going to miss you. You brought a lot of financial expertise, a lot of regional relationships and good smarts. And I just want everyone here to know that there were many hours where Tom was super helpful to me, helping me understand things from a different perspective and so on. So Tom, you've been a terrific advisor and a real advocate for the landowners of SDIC while keeping a greater good in mind. And I just want to acknowledge that and thank you for your service. And I know you're going to go off and do some good things because we've talked about some of them. And as I offered over the phone, if any of the things that I can do can help you in your adventures, do let me know. And I want to welcome Taylor Steenbach. She has been terrific in helping us with legislative efforts and working across the various departments in the county. And she brings a really strong set of regional relationships and really good strategic sense to the table. So Taylor, thank you very much for being willing to share your expertise and time with us. And then the other piece I wanted to just share with format, and regrets to those of you who are on the urban board, because this is a little bit of a repeat. But for those of you who have maybe been out of the country or haven't been following the news, first of all, good on you. But second, I want to make sure that everyone on format is aware that the governor's downtown task force focusing on downtown Portland worked for several months with the Greater Portland Chamber, Metro Portland Chamber, they changed their name, and the governor's office to come up with a series of recommendations to really support downtown Portland's recovery. One of the recommendations, and this came out a week ago Monday, so 8 days ago, was a moratorium on all new fees and taxes for 3 years. And your staff had been in contact with the chamber prior to this announcement and had made a presentation on the status of our transition to the new district, both on the operating side, but really focusing on the bond side, just a few days before this announcement came out. And we weren't given any notice that this might be happening, nor were we asked to present to the task force. However, since that announcement has come out, your staff has spent some considerable quality time with lead staff and board members of the Metro Chamber. We've learned that while they do have concerns about overall taxation in the region, they are also very supportive of us moving forward with our capital program. They want us to be able to fund all the projects that we need to fund, and their main concern is an effort. They would like to see a little bit more effort to get some additional revenue from the state of Oregon. So we've also been in touch with the governor's office, talking to chief of staff, deputy chiefs of staff, and her economic development policy director. We have a face-to-face meeting with them. Maybe it's not, maybe virtual, on Thursday to go over some ideas to try and maneuver around this moratorium or get additional state funding to keep us moving. Again, the governor's office was very supportive of our effort and appreciative of the urban board's decision to take a brief pause while we chat with them in the chamber. I also want to share that both the chamber and the governor's office are supportive of our legislative modifications. They do not believe that the fees that we are talking about are consistent with their moratorium. So we received assurances from both the chamber and the governor's office that they would like us to move forward with our effort in the short session of the legislature. So I wanted to give you that heads up. I am hopeful that we'll have some updates for you before the end of the calendar year or early the week of January 1st.
FW4MH.
And we need more robots. And in the meantime, I want to thank Corky Collier, who's been really helpful in working with the chamber and business community, helping us make some strong connections and offering suggestions. Again, Taylor has been super helpful. Annalisa from Metro has also been giving us good advice and lending her good offices. And Emerald Bogue and others from the Port of Portland have also been very supportive of our effort. So overall, I'm disappointed in the delay. And I am optimistic enough to offer a thought that we may end up with a stronger endorsement from important leaders in our community and potentially even some additional state revenue. So that's my position for now. And I just really want to stress that everyone we've talked to has said we're doing good work and it's very important work and we need to figure out how to get it paid for, and they want to help. So that's the end of that update, and we can move on to the agenda. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair and board members, for letting me provide that update.
Thank you, Jim. I just want to recognize Eric Molander did arrive to the meeting. So Wendy, I think Pen 2 is in quorum at this point.
We have also have Dave Anderson and Shayla Garcia. So Pen 2 has a full board present.
And so while I'm welcoming people, welcome Dave, welcome Shayla. This is your first official meeting and we're very fortunate to have your expertise and time on the board. Thank you for joining us and we look forward to working with you and getting to know you. Welcome Eric as well.
Jim, thanks for the review of the latest developments regarding the moratorium. Questions based on Jim's comments? Seeing none, I think we're ready to move on to Randy. Ops update.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. I just put together one slide for each district, and just kind of want to give everybody a little brief overview, but what we've been working on, what we're going to be looking forward to the next, few months. So I'll just go and get it started with Pen 1. I think probably everybody was around. We had a pretty decent rainstorm. It kind of came in a couple waves, and our team was out and about prepping the system, managing the storm, recovering from the storm, and on repeat in that a couple different times. So we're out probably a week and a half straight, basically the whole operations team. And the one thing about Pen 1, just like all the other districts, we prep for these storms. We are running one pump out there at PIR, but we're able to, draw that down real low. There's a lot of storage out there, so no power outages or anything significant. So everything worked really well. Really proud of the work our team did during that storm. And yeah, and the other, we have seen in this picture here, we've got an 8-inch pump out there at Vanport. We've been working with the Port of Portland. We spent a lot of time out there. This was the first big rainstorm that we had with that pump. Took a little bit of dialing in, kind of resetting the intake hose and all that, but everything operated great. Got a lot of hours on that, but kept the expo and that area well clear of flooding. So we were excited to see that it actually held up real nice, and it pumps significant amount of water and plenty for what we're doing. So, and some other stuff we're doing out there is our biweekly district checks, visiting the pump station, hitting key ditches in the Pen 1 area. We did do a decent amount of work with our excavator and stuff out in the back ditch behind Vanport where the discharges and runs out towards the golf course. There's a lot of beaver activity out there and trees down in the ditches, and so spent a decent amount of time just making sure that water had somewhere to go, and yeah, it worked really well. And one other thing to highlight, we are running that one pump out at the PIR pump station. Josh McNamee, our asset maintenance specialist, kind of an all-star out here, and we recognized that pump wasn't operating under full siphon, so made a field fit and got that pump motor running to its highest capacity. So very helpful that got completed before this big rainstorm, and just a good example of the stuff we do out there. Anybody from Pen 1 have any questions? Keep it, there's not a huge area, but we've got to keep a couple key focal points that we spend a decent amount of time on, especially during the rainstorms. I'll go and talk about Pen 2 then, if I can make it work. So there's been a decent amount of activity. I'm going to highlight just the rain event in each section. Two main pump stations, the 13th Street and Schmier Pump Station. They handled the rain load well. We are recognizing, with the continued development next to Schmier Pump Station, it is critical that both those pumps are running. And when those pumps do go down in a big, I think it was Tuesday to Wednesday night, that water comes up quick if those pumps aren't operating. So we spent a lot of time during the heavy rains and just raking that pump station. It's kind of it's the leaf and the dying of aquatics and all the ditch systems. So it's kind of it adds to a lot of a big workload for us. So spent a lot of time out there though. It kept up, operated well. 13th Street as well, functioned well. We were really lucky. There's no big winds associated with these rains, so no power outages, and just spent a lot of time out there. There's on here, I got blockage removal. There's a lot of beavers in Pen 2. So running up through the behind the Children Arboretum from Fazio's, that major ditch, there's a lot of beaver dam removal. We even pulled a couch out of the two big culverts right there during one of the heavy rains. And one of our inspections, we had to winch it out of there. So just keeping water moving. A couple big projects. We were able to coordinate with the city of Portland to do a cleanup under the I-5 bridge across from the Schmear pump station. There was a handful of big stairs that were cut into the banks, some big dig outs, and they were able to go there, clean it up, and we followed behind. And it looks really good. So kind of real tight squeeze. Scott Doyle, one of our senior staff, was out there, and no injuries, no equipment damaged, and looks really nice. And we also, you can see in the picture below too, we had to make some access improvements to our 13th Street pump station. Fazio's property right now, he's going through some major changes, kind of eliminated our access in one area. So in these heavy rain times, we really don't have access through there. It's too muddy. So we went ahead and rocked a path down, and we just run down the bike path, and project worked out really good. Staying out of Fazio's property in his way, and unless we when we have like the projects that we have coming up in the spring and the summer, we'll need access through his property. But right now, this is sufficient for our team, so that's nice. For those in the Bridgeton area, did a little work on the Gattenbrine Slough right there on the beaver deceiver. Somehow they were figuring out how to get inside that pipe, so we had to go get in there the workboat and do some repairs. And I just wanted to highlight one thing. BES came in, I believe, 2 years ago, and made a repair off of South Shore and 13th, and there's a few property owners that saw a lot of standing water and flooding in their backyards. And once that repair's been since it's been completed, there's not an ounce of water in those yards. So that repair is working great. So it's nice for us. We still do drive-bys, but nothing for us to really deal with at this point. So pretty exciting. Pen 2, always doing a lot out there.
Randy, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Marion.
I'm just curious because people call things rain event, rainstorm, and I'm a native Oregonian, so I have seen for 72 years and well, probably not the first years, but how do you distinguish, or do you rainstorm, rain event, what do they call it? Something river?
Atmospheric river.
Yeah, atmospheric river.
I might not be spot on. I might not be spot on my verbiage on that. I just call it a rain event. Once we start getting in the inch plus of rain for 2, 3+ days,
yeah.
I start identifying it as some kind of an event. It's not. I might not be using the right word, but that's kind of the lingo we use down here.
And then how does this year so far compare to prior years as far as work by the main? I mean, are we doing more? I mean, because I live in East Columbia, so I see the 13th Street and what the work they've done, and on South Shore, those 3 houses. They're thrilled with that, by the way, because the first year they haven't had their decks floating. So I just didn't know comparison wise workloads, if there's
it's eliminated a little bit of work for us. We had for a few different versions over the years having temper or 4-inch pump down there, either behind her little goat pen down there, or before it was a little closer to 13th. It's a decent amount of work. It's refueling, multiple times a week in big rainstorms, just inspecting, making sure our equipment's okay. So that's eliminated. It's been eliminated. So that's been nice, just to free up and
that's good.
Keep working the other areas in Pen 2 areas. So
okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Randy, if you don't mind, let me I wonder if I can just append on to that response. I was looking back at some rain events. I guess I'm using rain events and rainstorms interchangeably. So I was looking back at some storms that have come through the previous year. The nature of the storm last December, almost about a year ago, was similar to what we just experienced a couple of weeks ago, but it was a shorter time period. So it was just over a period of a couple of days as opposed to maybe 2 or 3 days, as opposed to almost a week of storms. Randy provided an update on level 11 for ops, but the amount, as you kind of alluded to, the amount of rain that we saw during this last series of storms is similar to what we saw last Christmas. It's not so rainfall patterns. The pattern itself has changed, but the amounts haven't changed dramatically over the last couple of years.
Thank you, because I ran into the neighbors that you helped. I don't know who else, but put sandbags in their backyards on South Shore, and they were like forever grateful for that. And then they said it must not have rained very much, and I said no, it's draining better. So they at least got that piece of knowledge.
Yeah, and I think this, this storm was, I'd say it was nice for us because we did get a big pulse of rain, but then we had a little bit of downtime. So each phase of it, we kept able to kind of catch up, and in the main slough, we were able to keep everything really low. But in those ditches, we only got so much capacity with the pumps, and those ditches start filling up. But we were able to continually get back ahead of it and get ready for the next big pulse of rain. So a lot of work, but definitely manageable. MCDD.
Randy, you have Eric's question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sharing my screen. I can't tell who's asking. Go ahead.
So let's go back to Schmier Road for just a second. What was the cause of the damage to the levee underneath I-5?
Oh, it was houseless activity. So there'd been some people, some camps right there. That's basically it. Yeah.
Okay, good to know and good to keep aware of because that's pretty significant. And then at the Schmier Road pump station, how long were the pumps down during this past rain event?
They were only down to some cycling just because of all the debris for about 20 minutes. But we saw it in like the biggest pulse of rain. That water comes up quick. And but yes, basically from the time I checked SCADA, made sure everything was functional at about 5:45 in the morning, drove down to the office, and I only lived 7 minutes away, and then got back on SCADA. We had to run just straight out there and just break the grates to make sure those pumps could keep operating. But it jumped up a good foot plus in just like a 20-minute period.
Okay, that's excellent. So congratulations to you and your team for the quick response. And I'm delighted that the SCADA system is working so effectively for you.
Yeah, no, it's a great tool for us. We're really able to do a lot remotely.
Got it.
And identify what we need to do. And sometimes, and I guess one thing to note, this storm, we did come in on one of the Sundays and did quite a bit of work in all the districts. I was on-call supervisor, and it was definitely necessary to have myself and a few other people come in here to rake all the pump stations, especially in Pen 2, with a lot of leaves and debris and stuff.
So a couple more thoughts to add on to Randy's comments there. One, I want to thank all 4 boards here for your investment into the SCADA system. A couple of years ago, we upgraded the communication system within there that allowed us to use radio frequency, which is a fairly standard method across utilities across the U.S. But that upgraded from a cellular method that we were using previously, which worked great except when it rained, which was a problem for us. So it was a fair amount of money, but all 4 districts chipped in equitably, and our system works. The reliability of that system is much better, and so Randy and his team can use that remotely and respond back as needed and fairly quickly. And Randy's observation about the water coming into Schmier pump station is what I was expecting following the development of those properties out there where Portland Meadows is. there's more impervious area coming in, and they've created a little shortcut, not a little one, but they created a shortcut from that, the stormwater runoff to get to our pump station. So I was expecting the volumes to be about the same, but the peaks, the peaks would be about the same, but the volumes would be different. So yeah, it's just an artifact of development. We are tracking that through our development reviews. As the Pen 2 board knows, we asked and received money from the developer to make some upgrades at Schmier Pump Station as a result of that, and we're putting that to good use. So I'll hand it back over to Randy. Thanks.
Yeah, right on. Let's see here. There's a lot going on in MCDD. It's a big area. We got a floating home on 92nd that we've been working. Our agency's been working with DSL, trying to figure out how to move that, get that out of there. There's a concern about, if that thing kind of breaks down a bit, it could cause some major blockages at 82nd on the main sluice. So I know we've got people knocking at the door, and it sounds like we've got finally got some traction on that. So that's exciting. There were some 87 pipe inspections at 82nd, and Bill, correct me, that was the city of Portland, I believe. Turns out the pipe's in decent shape, is from what my understanding is. So that's good for us to understand that it's in decent shape. The crews have been out doing, during all these storms and everything, there's been a bunch of down trees, generally the cottonwoods. And so our guys out on the workboat and winching and depending if we have access in certain sections of the slough, winching stuff off and onto the bank and or cutting up and floating down to our pump station if that's the only way we can do it. And a big highlight for this district is we were able to, you talk about managing resources and levels of effort. The trash rakes made a significant difference in this storm. And I was kind of scratching my head. I'm like thinking we're missing something here, but we were able to run those trash rakes and not have 2 staff out there full time. When we ran pump station 4 in pre-storm throughout the whole event, and for a good week and a half, and kept the levels down extremely low. Just we pop in every once in a while, making sure everything was looking good. But that has been a major blessing to our team. It was really, there's always going to be a little troubleshooting and tweaking and settings and everything on those things, but they worked awesome and really freed us up to really focus more on internal drainage and other areas. So very thankful, and just really wanted to highlight that. We also picked up a few new weather stations. We're going to have one on pump station 1 and pump station 4. And for me and Josh, who currently are the on-call supervisors, it's really nice to get like real true data from like our actually facilities. We can cruise and jump around on websites and try to get ideas, but it's very handy. They're just getting installed right now, so we're excited to get some live data as we try to navigate the SCADA and manage storms. So that's exciting. We have a platform project, a safety project at pump station 1. We built in-house, engineered, got some engineered drawings and all that, but that should be completed by the end of the year, and that really allows us to, big logs come into the pump station 1, and it's really hard to reach way over the railing and all this stuff, and it's going to give us a straight access in front of the intakes of the in front of the trash rakes, and be able to just safely and easily, without any protection or anything, just pull logs off to the side and safely remove all that debris coming in. So that's another big upgrade and exciting thing. So thank you for everybody that supported that. I feel like we have more changes on our team than ever before. We had Mr. Steve Luna, who retired about 10 months ago. So we've had an open vacancy for the maintenance mechanic lead position, overseeing vehicle maintenance, facilities work on campus, and a bunch of other things. But it's a big position, and it took a long time. We had to go out 3 different times and I really feel we found the right person. We just recently had a signed offer letter, and really excited for that person to start. His name is Vic Foley, and he starts January 16th. We hired another a seasonal. He became full-time. He's an O&M tech assistant, and that's exciting. And one of our real senior staff, Charles Crisp, is been here about at least 13 years, and he's decided to move down to Missouri with his family. So got another one going to be posting hopefully next week. And so just constant change and kind of turning into a new era, it feels like, down here. But really exciting, and exciting to find talented and fun people that we hopefully get to work with for a long time. Let's see here. We spent a lot of time in this storm. We spent a lot of time out in the South Shore swells. It's off 185th. There's a Bridgestone Firestone pump station. It discharges out of a pond into this ditch system that we manage for the city of Gresham. And there's a lot of leaves. There's about 100 oak trees out there. So spent a lot of time out there. But I just wanted to highlight that because I got a really good relationship with David Lashbo. He's the superintendent of stormwater out there at the city of Gresham. And just a lot of really good communication with them. And Chris Edwards, who also is a property manager for Prologis in that area as well. So yeah, building relationships, and that's the fun part. Few photos. Top left one. Like I said, there's a lot of rain in the ditches, and this is pump station 2 for those of you that have seen it. Normally there's a platform right there, but it breached over a little over 8 feet, and those pumps were working as hard as they could, but they were it didn't get much over that deck, but it just kind of shows you how much water there's the Broadmoor pump station is tied to the east, just down the ditch a ways. And so, I mean, we had 2 pumps running at both those pump stations for multiple days. So lots and lots of water over a good week plus. And the bottom picture, I thought this was pretty cool. That big, long piece of plastic or whatever pipe you want to call it. Our team actually, we needed a log boom at pump station 4. And we had this 300-foot, it's almost 300-foot stick of pipe that's all welded together that was down in front of pump station 1. And they towed that thing all the way up the slough, up over the cross levee, and installed it up at pump station 4. I was impressed. It's kind of cool. You can see how big that is. And then another big thing to highlight is in the big picture on the right, we've got our barges that they're working. So we've been got the excavator out there, and excited about the projects to come. We've identified some areas in the main stem of the slough, also in the secondary, that hasn't seen a lot of maintenance in a long time. So a lot of good work to come because of that purchase. So thank you for all the support from the boards to procurement to everybody. It took a while for it to come to fruition, but yeah, it's going good. Anybody from MCDD have any questions? I feel like I'm just talking and talking and talking.
You do a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. That's really all I got to say about that. There is plenty of work to do, and the guys are doing an amazing job. So I'll just go to SDIC. I wanted to put this photo on here. Just, you know, that weir is a great asset for SDIC, and we actually coordinated with the Port of Portland. They had asked, they had to do some permitting things, and they wanted to see how much water they could hold back. And it actually was perfect timing. We closed it when it started to rain, but that whole area was pretty well flooded out. So, and there's a lot more storage. So we've done it multiple times now in rainstorms, and this, you know, when we get the bigger rains, those pumps struggle to keep up. And when we close that weir, it gives us the time we need to recover and and get the water out of the ditch system. So that thing's continued to work really well, and kind of just highlighting just, you know, more coordination with Carrie Butler and her team at the Port of Portland and all the staff at the trip on the trip weir area. So yeah, proud of that. We're still getting out there twice a week. There's a lot of ditches, a lot of ins and outs from out in Heister, Yale, the TA to the Troutdale Airport. We've got IGAs with the Multnomah County, like run some ditches in the Salmon Creek. Yeah, so real busy out there in SDIC. Everything really handled well. It just takes a lot of time and effort just to keep everything flowing. But the system handled really well in this storm, and yeah, it's good to see. I highlighted some TA ditch work. We've got a big beaver deceiver out there, just on the other side of I-84, and they just did a bunch of clearing, kind of resetting that, and it allows there to be, it minimizes our maintenance that we have to go out there. Before we had that out there, we were hauling equipment and excavator out there quite often. And, you know, I always forget when I leave campus here, I forget it's a 25-minute drive to get there. It's actually a long haul. So, and we joined up with Multnomah County, and did some inspections of the 223rd pipe that runs under Marine Drive. I think they were able to utilize our contract with our current dive team, so that was nice. And one of the big things, if people drive out to the Sandy pump station, that 40-mile loop project's dang near done. So there is a path right behind that pump station, and we'll kind of see what that does for activity in that area. I think we've talked about it before, and it's pretty realistic to think we're going to see just a lot more activity. So we'll see. Hopefully, you know, nobody's messing with their stuff. So, but what else? Anybody from SDIC have any questions?
Randy, I don't have any questions, but just again, like others, I just want to extend my appreciation from the SDIC landowners for you and your team's diligence and staying ahead of it. Bill, you and your team as well. I know it's a collective.
Yeah, and I was gonna, you know, I think I'll probably talk to this at the format meeting in 3 months or so, and just, you know, for all the districts, we're just kind of in that wet season. You know, no major projects happening the next few months, and it's really managing storms and focusing a lot of preventative maintenance and stuff from our vehicles and equipment. But we'll just be out and about and just keeping water flowing. I think that's what the near future looks like for us. So thank you everybody for letting me share all this cool stuff that my team gets to be a part of. So, and thank you for all the support.
Randy, thank you. And I have to acknowledge you are spot on for your timeliness. We are on track at our 210 agenda. At this time, the JCA can exit or adjourn. Kenny?
Thank you, Tom. JCA is adjourned.
SDIC is adjourned as well at this time. Ken, I wanted to ask if you could maybe carry the baton for the remainder of the meeting. I see MCDD finishes out this agenda.
You got it.
Okay. Bye all.
Good, Tom.
We'll miss you, Tom. Have fun.
Okay, Wendy, where are we at on the
We are
agenda?
going to Pen 1 next, and I believe Matt Berlin has some things to tell you.
That's item F on the agenda, right?
That's right. We ready for me?
We are ready for you, buddy.
Great, thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Berlin. I'm the emergency planner with districts, and I'm the project manager for the PIR pump station replacement project. I'm coming at you from my vehicle, so I hope I am able to be heard and seen after a little bit of a Wi-Fi connection snafu today. So apologies for that. Hope it sounds good. So we're here today to ask the Penn One board approval to enter into a design services contract with Jacobs Engineering Group for the PIR pump station replacement project, and we'll be looking at funding the design and permitting phases of that project. So I wanted to provide a little bit of background. I summarized it in a one-pager in advance of this meeting. And I just want to walk through it really quick just to highlight some of the key points and then seek your approval for moving forward. So you'll recall that in October of last year, the Penn One board adopted the 2022 Water Quality and Drainage Master Plan for the Penn One district. And in that plan was a recommendation to replace the PIR pump station as it has exceeded its useful life. I know we are all well aware of that, but that is the plan that made that recommendation. To fund this project along in advance of the plan back in 2021, the city of Portland applied for and received advanced assistance funding through the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. And with support from the state of Oregon, initiated a 3-year project to fund the design and permitting for the new pump station. And in August of this year, the Penn One board approved its participation in an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Portland so that Penn One could manage this project and be reimbursed for project costs. So once the IGA was in place, MCDD staff developed a solicitation, released that solicitation in early October, and received proposals for design services in early November. I provided a summary of the project selection or evaluation criteria in the one-pager, and I did just want to call out a couple of key criteria in that list, in addition to some that might look familiar or might seem logical to include. We did want to encourage folks submitting proposals to think broadly about how their proposals might address and capture the vision of the new district, because once this project is entering into its construction phase, we will be a new district with a broader set of services and goals. And I think we did a good job of pushing our interested proposers in that direction. In addition to talking more directly about equity as well. And so the evaluation committee was made up of MCDD staff as well as an engineering manager from the City of Portland Environmental Services. We had 2 additional staff review each proposal to look very carefully at the proposed permitting strategies. And through all of that work, we ended up selecting Jacobs Engineering. They received the highest average score and a unanimous decision to move forward with the recommendation. And so the design contract that we'd like to enter into is expected to start in January 2024, and the final design by fall 2025 in advance of pursuing the next phase of grants for the construction phase of the project. Before we summarize that and request the board's approval to move forward, I just want to share some thanks. So much effort has gone into this project long before I started my role at the districts. So all of this work that led to this culmination, including OPS's work, so often managing a pump station that's well beyond its useful life. My predecessor, Brian Eberhardt and Liz Edgar, so much support from BES's James Allison. And then a lot of folks were involved in pulling together the solicitation and reviewing the proposals that came in. And then I just want to make a special thanks to MCDD's finance and procurement teams for ensuring a smooth process that complied with all of the requirements of the multiple agencies involved. It's very tricky, from FEMA to the state to the city to Penn One. Lots of different overlapping and sometimes contrasting perspectives to show up in the documentation needed to support this work. With that said, I do want to just note that the funding we're seeking is a maximum of a $2 million contract for the design services. That does not include project management costs to Penn One or to the city of Portland. It does include the design and permitting work for this project. It does include developing a benefit cost analysis that's a requirement for pursuing the next phase of federal hazard mitigation assistance. And it does include some contingencies as the project is in its early stages. So with that, I'd like to request that the board approve and authorize the executive director to enter into the contract with Jacobs Engineering Group for design services for the PIR pump station replacement project.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt. Penn One board members, any questions for Matt or other staff? Jeff, I see your hand.
Great, thank you very much. Good report, Matt. A couple things. And you caught me at the end. I'll go backwards because you were making some comments about what the $2 million does and does not include. So could you run through those slowly? And for the ones that it doesn't include, can you give estimates of what those numbers are?
Sure, I could do my best. I think that another way of describing it might also be helpful is that the award that the city requested from the hazard mitigation grant program was for $2.331 million. And that total award included anticipated contracted services for design and permitting. And that's what we're talking about with this contract. And then additional costs for the city and for the districts to manage the project over the 3-year project cycle. So we took a ballpark estimate around what we anticipate project management costs to be to Penn One and to the city, and took that out of the total award, and the remainder was $2 million for the contract services. Is that helpful?
Ish. So
okay.
The project 2.331 is potentially all in, well, that's the grant. So, all right,
that's great.
Good enough. And then the follow-up, I think you said that the work was going to begin hopefully in January, so that's great. Did either in-house or external counsel review whatever contract you're using for this?
Absolutely. We went through legal process to establish the procurement to have the contracting information in place before moving forward. Are you trying to jump in, Bill? I'm sorry, I can't hear there. No. And so we're working through our procurement to assure that that is compliant. And that's part of that very tricky balance.
I guess that didn't answer my question. I mean, the 4 corners of the document, the quote contract, I'm not talking about procurement. So is there a contract? Because this is, the resolution is asking us to approve and allow the executive director to sign a contract with Jacobs Engineering. Right. So is there a contract out there?
No, apologies. We're in the middle of developing that contract now.
So that Matt's response is correct, Jeff. But I will add is that we always start with the legally approved contract template and adjust that as necessary. So in this case, the adjustments will involve the any requirements for the FEMA grants, but we will make sure that that final adjustment gets routed to legal counsel for one final approval. But we start with the template that's already been reviewed thoroughly.
And Bill, am I correct? And that'll be Miller Nash and providing that procurement review?
Most likely, yes.
Okay. Has Jacobs Engineering indicated that they'll accept our template?
They did. It was provided in the request for proposal. So they have a copy of it. And they've signed a very similar contract already with us maybe 3 years ago for the design of the Pump Station 1 pump replacements project. So they're familiar with our language.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill.
Further questions or discussion from Pen 1 members? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands willing to entertain a motion. I think Bill dropped it in the chat.
Or let's see, where was it? I think I saw it. I'd move then, I'm not going to do it verbatim though. I move to approve and authorize the executive director or their designee to sign a contract following approval from external legal counsel, with Jacobs Engineering Group Inc. for design services for the PIR pump station replacement project with a maximum contract value of $2 million.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Thank you, PJ. Introduced by Jeff, seconded by PJ. I'm going to do a roll call vote. PJ Christopher.
Aye.
Jeff Noodleman.
Aye.
Tom Collette.
Aye.
And Lisa Curler votes aye. The motion passes. And if I am reading the agenda correctly, I believe Pen 1, this is our last, I'm seeing Wendy nod. So the last thing we are needed for today. So I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the Pen 1 board. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, it looks like we have McKenna up. And I think this is yours, Eric.
Let me make certain I'm unmuted. McKenna, thank you very much. If you could lead us through your analysis of the contract on the 13th Avenue pump station, I'd appreciate it.
Eric, if it's okay, I just wanted to offer a couple of introductory comments, and I'll turn it over to McKenna, who did all the work on this. But wanted to let you know that I'm certainly aware of the contract and how we're proceeding. I'm excited about getting to this stage of the work because this is a big risk for the Pen 2 Columbia Slough levee if these discharge pipes break. So I'm glad we got to this point. It is those who have reviewed the contract and the one pager that McKenna sent out, the competitive bid process that we went through, following state Oregon procurement rules, generated 3 bids, and the lowest of those 3 bids was approximately 30% higher. McKenna could correct me if I'm wrong, but it may be a little bit different. But it was noticeably higher than the other than the engineer's estimates that was identified, and she can go into those details. I was a little surprised, as you might have been as well when you saw that information. So I wanted to add a couple of comments here. First off, I made sure to reach out to my peers at other organizations, government organizations in the area. They too have seen some significant deviations from their own project engineering estimates. City of Portland Pump Station Group has seen 20% plus increases from their current engineer estimates from their projects. City of Gresham has bounced around quite a bit, plus or minus, up to 60% difference from their engineers' estimates over the last couple of years. So it's part of this is a reflection of the market and inability for engineering firms to keep up properly with how construction contractors are thinking. And so this is not just us. This is kind of an industry issue, and the engineering industry is well aware of this, and we're trying to make some accommodation to tighten this down even more. A couple of thoughts that come to mind. One, it's possible, certainly an option that we just cancel the contract and not go forward. That is not my recommendation. We could do that and get new bidders. We don't know whether or not we would actually get new bidders. And probably more importantly for me, I think, is from my experience, as you get closer and closer to the summertime period, the contractors have already received and won their contracts. And so they're less hungry, if you will, for more jobs. And as a result, if they do go after projects, they tend to inflate their numbers even more. So it's not necessarily to our advantage, given my my experience with this work, necessarily to wait. We also don't necessarily want to be in a situation where we start creating a reputation for ourselves of issuing invitations to bid and then either modifying or canceling that bid. In some cases, some of you may have heard that you could do what's called value engineering to help bring the cost down. That certainly happens in really, really large projects. It actually happened in this project during the design phase. They had actually, our engineering team initially suggested building a cofferdam around the outfall, which is basically sheep piles around the outfall. You drain the water behind the sheep pile on the land and create a dry space for construction to work. But thanks to Kevin and others and McKenna and others on the team, they encouraged our design engineers to make some adjustments there and went for a different method, honestly saving a couple hundreds of thousands of dollars. So there was some value engineering already through there. Adjusting the bid and asking the contractor to do some adjustments it's possible, but the permits that we have for this are pretty restrictive about how to conduct work, and changing the work would likely trigger a new round of permits. And if that's the case, we're talking about months and months of delay, and unlikely we'd be able to get to do the work in this summer. So that's a concern. It's value engineering is a great tool. We did use that a little bit in this case, but it's going to be more difficult at this point in time. And finally, the procurement process that we have is what it is. It's the best we can do based on what the state of Oregon provides for us. We can do additional steps, and we are actively talking about those additional steps. And Lori or others on the call might be able to chime in. But there's the work associated with our diversity, equity, and inclusion program also involves reaching out to firms that may not have historically be willing to submit on these projects, but with a little education and maybe some guidance, they'd be more comfortable about submitting that. So we're hoping that the contractor pool will increase in the future with some of that work. Furthermore, if we able to do more pre-design work ahead of time, and give this board and other boards opportunities to have a new gate, if you will, budget gate, for a decision of a go or no go to continue forward after 30% design, we have a better sense on the costs for that particular project. So there are a number of things there that I hope you've heard that we're trying to do moving forward here. It's a little bit of frustrating situation right now, honestly, for me and others on staff, given what the bid results are. But yeah, so I'll let you comment on that. I'll let you think about that for a little bit. I see Mary Helen's hand up. If you don't mind, Mary Helen, I'll let McKenna finish her.
No, that's fine. I was just going to comment on your comment about DEI stuff, so I can wait till then.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'll turn it over to McKenna to finish the presentation, and she can answer questions.
Thanks, Bill. Hi, everyone. McKenna Bell with the engineering team here. And yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the details about this procurement process for the 13th Ave pump station discharge lines project, and ultimately request your approval to move forward with the contract with the lowest bidder. So as Bill said, we went through procurement from November 1st through December 5th, and we received 3 bids. The lowest bidder was Clark & Sons Excavating, and it came in just under $1.2 million, which, yeah, it ended up being 33% higher than our engineer's estimate that our consultant put together. So we found a few reasons for this upon evaluating the bids. One of those being that earthwork and steel items were varied pretty widely across the bids, which is a current market trend. The bid item with the highest variance from our engineer's estimate was for the earthwork to create a temporary bench in the levee for construction access to the pipes. Our engineering consultant noted that the contractor might be factoring in a level of risk associated with doing work on a federal levee. Additionally, there were 2 bid items that were added during the bid process as a result of the pre-bid meeting, and also access concerns that Randy mentioned a little bit about that during his presentation. Those were not part of our original cost estimate. For some background on that, access to our pump station is through Fazio Landfill and Recycling. That landowner is currently doing some construction work on his property that has made our access more challenging over the past few months, and ops put in that road that Randy was showing earlier. However, for construction, we still will need to go through that property, and so we've been working with the landowner the past few months about putting together a temporary construction easement to just ensure that we'll be able to still access the pump station from his site next summer. And he has indicated that he intends to sign that later this week, actually, which is great. We, as Bill said, we also got those responses from our partners that they have seen similar trends in bid prices, as well as receiving fewer bids on advertisements. So going forward, we just want to make sure that all these lessons learned are accounted for in future projects. And one also wanted to tie a connection with the new urban district's proposed geo bond. So with that, staff made sure that there's anywhere from 30 to 75% contingency on every project for the bond's cost estimate. And that's important because those projects are all in the early stages of development, and we may come up with some similar challenges there. Regarding the impact on Penn 2's finances, there will be no budget adjustment that's needed for the current fiscal year based on our construction schedule. And then for the next fiscal year, Lori will plan to work with the board during that budget process on any impacts from this project. So we did post the notice of intent to award to Clark & Sons last week on the 13th, and barring any protests received before the 21st from other contractors that bid on it, we are asking today for a motion to authorize this contract award, and that motion language is in your packet. But that is about all I have. So Mary Helen, do you want to start?
I'm struggling with making myself be able to talk. The DEI part, the only comment I wanted to make was, I don't know the RFP process of what you go through for different contracts, but there are former board members, US Urban District board members. I meet with a group of city nonprofits that make contacts in nonprofits that serve DEI, help develop processes for them, that sort of thing. And so I don't know what the process is for the RFPs, but you might want to reach out, even like in a meeting, and see if anybody would help you if you want that help in making contacts with a wide variety of agencies and nonprofits that are doing that very work, trying to get the information to underrepresented communities that aren't normally in the complicated system. Primarily, we started out with city bureaus, and then it's expanded to others. Colas Foundation, Colas Construction has a foundation that does that very thing with youth. And Herman Colas, well, his son is the president of the company, and I'm sure he'd be a wonderful resource because that's what he does in the construction industry. So just wanted to offer that piece of information if you wanted to pursue it.
Yep, I appreciate that, Mary Helen. I was thinking about other government entities because they've gone through similar efforts to try to encourage more contractors from various groups to submit on bids and helping them out. But it's good to know that nonprofit entities are out there as well. And your suggestion there, we'll make sure to follow up on.
Yeah, I can put you in contact with the folks. The development BDS has that development review advisory committee, and they have like a special committee also because they hear permit reviews, and that's who we dealt with all the when you started the development review. Those people are gone, but they've got replacements. So a time for 2024 conversation.
Yep. Thank you.
Are there other questions, Shayla, Karen, Dave? Nothing from you. Okay. So I want to reiterate something from my experience that Mary Helen had said. As a business professor at Boston University, we did work with the Massachusetts Department of Transportation to educate minority business owners on how to compete for business on these contracts. And the program that we ran actually tripled the number of minority contractors that could now see their way through the maze of bureaucracy to what would be a good business opportunity for them. And I think that one of the lessons learned that we have is that we really need to expand our group of potential contractors, because if you only have 3 people showing an interest, you're not going to get a very effective amount of competition for it. Next question is in terms of the finances. McKenna, is there any opportunity for us to go back to the state of Oregon for additional fundings for these unanticipated overruns?
So I think given the money that is coming from the state of Oregon for the PMLS projects, the amount that they can award to a single special district in a certain time frame, we asked for the maximum amount that was remaining. I think it's like $2 million that they can give every couple years, or it might be a 5-year time period, but the rest of the amount went towards the PMLS projects for Penn 2.
Okay, so we've maxed out on that. And Lori, when we look at our capital reserves, do we have adequate funding to be able to cover this, or will this have to come from additional funding from the landowners in Penn 2?
We are in the process of doing our revised forecast for the current year right now. And so we should have those numbers for the board. I believe we're scheduled to come back in January and start to walk through projections for the current year. We will work through all of our capital reserves with this increase. So we will need to take a look at other costs that are projected for the next year for this district and make some decisions about rate increases.
Okay. Okay. And then, Bill, we've often talked about the 30% design bench as really being the place that we're trying to get to. But this really feels like the engineering wasn't off. It's really just market conditions. Or have I got that completely wrong?
I have a thought on that, but I'd prefer to defer to McKenna or Kevin Severson to answer before I open my mouth.
I think it's both really. I mean, this project had changed a lot up until the 30% and at that point as well. So I think, this project is one of the main reasons that we are, in the future looking at trying to get to that pre-design 30% design stage before estimating the rest of the project cost, because we thought this was going to be a really small fix. And then when we went into the site assessment and all those things, 3 years ago at this point, it turned out not to be the case. So that's, really the reason that we do want to get to that 30% benchmark. But yeah, it seems that the market at the same time right now is just in an interesting place. And we got some validation from a couple of our partners that they've been seeing similar things. And, I thought we would get more than 3 bids on this project, and our consultants did as well. So it was definitely a surprise.
One of the other things that makes this so difficult is that we've got to be reliant on the good offices of Fazio to say, yeah, you can come across our property. And with all the construction that's going on there, it's really very difficult to project that. But these are all great lessons learned. And as we start to look at the larger PLMS and FEMA projects, it's worth noting and putting into our thought process. Are there other questions from board members at this point? Okay, I will entertain a motion to go forward with this. I'm looking for somebody to raise their hand and say, I move.
I'll say it. I move that we approve this.
I have the specific language in the chat. Dave, if you just want to say you move the language in the chat, that's fine.
Yeah, I move to approve and authorize Executive Director Arvara Designee to sign a contract for the construction of the Northeast 13th Avenue Pump Station Discharge Lines Rehabilitation Project with a maximum contract value of $1.94151.
Excellent. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Wendy, if you could do a roll call vote for us, please.
Karen Myers. Oh, Karen, I've got you muted. There you go.
Aye.
Mary Helen Kincaid.
Got him.
Yes. Oh.
Shayla Garcia.
Aye.
Dave Anderson.
Aye.
Eric Molander.
And Eric Molander votes aye. That motion is passed unanimously. Thanks very much. Thank you all for your thoughtful reflections on what we've seen in this process, and we're delighted to incorporate that into our thinking and future procedures. Got it.
Thank you all. Appreciate
all right. So the next element Emily, I think, is for us to hold board officer elections.
So
Emily
this is something that the board normally does annually after the landowner meeting. This is the first meeting you've had after that October landowner meeting. So current officers are, the president is Eric Molander and the secretary treasurer is Karen Myers.
Are there other candidates for those two roles? Okay, if
I
not,
hear silence, and as long as you and Karen are willing to do it another year, I nominate you to continue your post. You've both done wonderful jobs, so.
okay. So it's been moved. Is there a second?
I second that.
Thank you, Shayla. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, then let's go ahead and get a roll call vote for the two officers.
Karen Myers.
I vote aye.
Mary Helen Kincaid.
I vote yes.
Shayla Garcia.
Aye.
Dave Anderson.
Aye.
Eric Molander.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And again, team, look forward to working with you. So we're going to have some very interesting discussions coming up. Is there anything else for the good of the order that we need to bring up in Pen 2?
On behalf of staff, thank you, Mr. Molander and Ms. Myers, for serving as officers. We appreciate you.
Okay.
This is just a point of reference because from the Ask a Lotus question person, when do we discuss option B if Pen 2 has to vote on that or not? And how does that work as far as the legacy districts and urban flood safety or the urban district?
Excellent. So Dave and Shayla, let me just quickly summarize where we are, and then I'll turn it over to Lori for the specific time. If the Urban Flood Safety and Water Quality District does not vote to dissolve Pen 2 on July 1st, then we're going to have to come up with a budget for ourselves. And it's a so-called option B. And what this would require us to do is probably work through to the period of like December of next year, next calendar as well as fiscal year, once the new permanent board for the Urban Flood Safety and Water Quality District is elected. And at that point, they would dissolve our organization, merge it with the other three districts, and then it would become the new district. All of this is really tied up with the governor's pause on new taxes because in all likelihood, if that, and you heard from Jim, his assessment of that, we still have options in front of us, but we need to think about an option B. And Lori, what is your plan for getting us to the point that we have an option B?
Actually, for this current year, what our staff are doing is a regular budget process for all four districts. Those regular budgets then will roll up into a combined budget for the urban district should we move forward with the consolidation. So we are working on a regular budget process. We are scheduled to come in front of this board in April to review a proposed budget should we need to move forward with that. Because of the level of work involved with the number of budgets that we're developing and the number of districts that we're working with, we will be coming forth with a full year budget. We're not going to second guess. Should it be 6 months? Should it be 7 months? Should it be 3 months? The budgets that we're developing are regular full year budgets for the districts.
Okay, and then when do you need priorities from Pen 2 to incorporate into the budget? Is that a discussion that we need to have in January?
that is a discussion that goes along with our kickoff of the budget process, and that kickoff of the budget process will be reviewing the forecast projections for the current fiscal year. At that point in time, we'll also talk about priorities and then have some information also on the anticipated needs for increases in assessment rates to be able to cover the capital project that we talked about earlier.
Right. Excellent. So one of the things that I'd like to alert the board to is that at that kickoff meeting, we need to be in a position to be able to talk about what the board's priorities are so that those things can be fully incorporated into our financial planning. So thank you very much for that. And then one of the other open items was that what we found from SDIC's experiences, they really appreciated having outside counsel. So at our January meeting, I think that we need to close the loop on that and get the board's decision about whether to have outside counsel for going forward, or if we will retain the position of the contracted outside counsel that we have today. So lots of work ahead of us in January, and I appreciate that. If there is no additional requirement, I think that Pen 2 can stand adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a great holiday weekend, and I will see you once I'm back from my international travels.
Safe travels.
Bye-bye now.
See y'all.
Happy holidays.
All right, MCD, I think it's just us, and thank you for sitting through that. So these format meetings are long, but we have a critical piece of business. I think, Corky, you're up next to give us a rundown. Jim, you had something first?
No.
Okay. Corky, you have a rundown in terms of the work, the urban district, any policy?
Well, sure, really, the urban district work in the past meeting was really all about the GO bond, and Jim gave us a very good update on that earlier in the meeting. I think that sums up most of what we've been doing this past month, and it's something that's changing on a day-to-day basis, honestly, at this point. So I will say that it was nice to see the team in action at the Portland Metro Chamber talking about the GO bond, and I have reasonably good feelings. Before the governor came out with her announcement, I had reasonably good feelings that the chamber would support us on this effort. Now, as Jim noted, it's a constantly moving target. Did I get that reasonably well, Jim?
I think so. You might want to share with the board kind of where the urban board was headed with the amount of the ask, because that's a little bit different.
Good point. Yes. So there's been the range for how much to ask on the GO bond, low being 175 million, high being 230 million, somewhere around there. So what we ended up settling on was about 195 million, trying to keep it below the 200 million mark, and showing people that we're trying to keep this low, but at the same time, giving ourselves a 10%-ish buffer in there, just to make sure that we don't get caught short of money on such a big deal. So I think we had a pretty good discussion about that, and I think a really healthy discussion about that, with people ranging, some people saying go for everything you can. I will say the odd part of that was the folks that were saying ask for more were folks like the county, which who's like, you don't have a good reputation on this right now, so maybe you're not the best messenger for that. And then folks also saying, well, 175 is all we need, so let's just stick to that, which there's a part of me that really agrees with that as well, but having that little extra buffer I think is a good idea. So
the other piece was, I think the other detail I would add is that some of the environmentally minded board members were looking for a larger number to feel a little more assured that environmental programs wouldn't get the axe in a cost overrun situation. I know
to be candid, from my perspective, that additional 20 million was really kind of a way to make sure that we've got the environmental organizations in full support of the GEO bond. It's not that they were holding us, to that. It was some sort of blackmail. I don't want to misstate it, but it was to some degree a way of saying, look, a lot of this is going to go toward environmental improvements. We need your support. And I did check in with Bill Salinger directly and just informally on that, and says, are you really behind this now? And he confirmed that they were. So I think that's good news. And again, I don't want to misstate that. It was not any sort of blackmail, but it was sort of a gift to make sure that we had them on board.
I think he said it was sort of support versus full-throated support. That's kind of how he shared it with me. And I guess the only other thing is the Urban Board continues to try and improve the proposed legislative modifications that will solve some of the operating revenue collection issues. And in that work, we've made some additional modifications to address concerns coming from SDIC and to some degree from Corky and Penn 2 about indemnification of you all after the transition. We want to make sure none of you have any liabilities remaining that the district won't cover. And I think we've made some good progress. We had a meeting with the legislative representatives of all the jurisdictions, and we included Wood Village, Fairview, and Troutdale because they don't have their own lobbyists. And I was not at the meeting, Colin was there, but the report out was the partners are gearing up to send a letter supporting the legislative modifications with the changes that we've made. So we're optimistic there as well.
And the only other thing I'd add in is maybe better labeled as a little bit of commentary on this, but I think it's worth everybody being aware of some problems we've had, for example, in selecting a new vice chair. There continues to be some sort of split, in my opinion, between and this is crudely put, so if you disagree, you can find evidence that I'm not stating this correctly. But I will just state it generally and get it out there, which is there's some sort of a split between legacy districts in general and other parts of the urban district, some of which are agency related or city related, so City of Portland, county, metro, so forth. Again, I'm simplifying it here, so don't take this too seriously, but there is that little bit of split there, and we saw that as we were trying to select a new chair or a new vice chair, and it continues. So I think it's worth all of you being aware of that. And in my opinion, this is related to something we just saw at the meeting just before this, which at the JCA meeting just before this, is we're voting on higher thresholds for contracting rules, which are perfectly understandable and in alignment with the state thresholds. But here everybody was kind of sitting back from making a motion because it's sort of like, whoa, these are big numbers. And that's part of the evolution that we're going through, in my opinion. But I think it makes a lot of folks a little unsettled as we look at these bigger numbers and as we look at the evolution of the drainage districts being more government agency type than we have been in historically. We've been a little bit more independent, a little bit more privately oriented, and that's changing, that's shifting, and it's a shift that we have to deal with. But I think that kind of speaks to some of that discomfort in selecting a new vice chair, for example. And Jim, I don't want to put you on the spot, but feel free to jump in too and say, Corky, you've got it all wrong. But I think it's just worth people kind of understanding there's that tension going on. And as long as it remains something that we talk about and work through, then I think it can be a healthy tension. But if we just sweep it under the rug, then it could be unhealthy.
I'd put a finer point on it. We tried to elect a vice chair. We had two candidates, one from the west side, one from the east side, and the board split right down the middle.
Right down the middle. And Steve Fancher very wisely said, well, let's just put this off.
And I think that the good news is Steve had hoped to step down as chair, and we'd gotten locked up on that. And he's now willing to remain. And we've talked to both candidates who were splitting the board, and they're willing to serve as co-vice chairs. And we hope that we can get all the votes for that, but we're going to try that in January. So we're hopeful.
Yeah. And if anybody has suggestions on how to resolve that issue, please, I'm all ears.
Well, and I think there's a little bit of tension from the legacy board representatives on the urban board, because the change is, I think, a big deal. We're going from a system that people have gotten a lot out of personally and have contributed years and years of effort and passion toward, and that's changing. And so I just want to acknowledge that for the folks who've really invested in the legacy districts, this is a really big deal. And it's worth noting that and remembering that they're going through not only all the hard issues of policymaking and taxation and fees and everything, but also the change in something that's been very important to them and a key part of their civic life. So I think it's just worth recognizing that change can be challenging for folks and honoring that.
And it is a big change. The urban district is making a big step toward becoming a larger, more formal government agency. And that comes with discomfort.
Yeah, some good, some bad.
All right, Corky, one last thing, trying to keep us on track here, but is there any votes that you need coming up that you need our input on how you'll cast your vote?
I don't think so. You know, I think the big thing right now is what Jim started the meetings off with, which is that update about, you know, working with the governor's office, unless anybody has, you know, direction. But that's something that's changing constantly. So I don't know.
Yeah, my dream is we'll vote on January 23rd to refer a bond measure, but that could change based on feedback from January. And so that would be the next big vote would be my anticipation if we're successful negotiating with the chamber and the governor.
And so to that end, if anybody has, I'm assuming that MCD is still in support of referring this to the bond measure in the springtime. If there's a change of heart at MCD, then we need to know about that. I need to know about that.
Yeah, I mean, my own perspective is, that's what we've been working towards it for many years now. So we should be for that.
Yeah. So we're trying to find a path that makes everybody happy, including the governor. But if not, or the backup plan is that we'll move forward with the GO bond for May.
All right.
Just for the rest of the board, I think Corky was very helpful in working with the urban board. And I just want to reiterate that Corky's role as the Columbia Corridor Association Executive Director has been very helpful in working with the business community and the chamber and the governor's office. So thank you, Corky, for using not only your board service, but your good offices to help support our effort. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, great representative for MCD that understands both the government side, but also the industry. So, hey, moving on, we've got a couple things that we have to vote on. The next one up is Nicole Handley on the contract attorney, item J on the agenda. And we talked a little bit about it the last session, and this is just a matter of a contractor.
And I can speak to this if it looks like Nicole might be offline here. So this is the update to the contract with Allison Keene, who is here in the meeting with us. We are increasing, so Allison has agreed to continue and provide legal support for us, which is a good thing. She's been great help, especially on the GO bond and really giving us some good direction and guidance related to the work that we're doing there. So in this amendment to her existing contract, we're changing her hourly rate, as well as increasing the total contract amount to a maximum of $150,000. So that pushes us to the level that we need to bring that here to you today and request your approval to be able to finalize that extension of her contract.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, just want to say Allison has been a really terrific asset for the team, and we're very fortunate she's been willing to carve into her retirement to provide services after Hong's departure. So from a staff perspective, we are getting a lot of value from Allison in a lot of various places. So we would hope that you would support this.
Yeah, we appreciate Allison's service, and comes at the right time because it's hard to get folks in that has a kind of knowledge Allison has of public sector with Hong's departure. And then also this is already budgeted because we had budget for Hong in there. So it's not an added, it's just a contract approval.
What you will see when we look at the revised forecast in January is that between the budget that we had for in-house counsel for the 2 attorneys, plus the outside counsel budget that we had, we're actually running pretty far below budget when you add those up and look at what we're spending on outside counsel. So we're in pretty good shape as far as the legal budget.
Great. Just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
I agree that this seems like a wonderful solution for the district. I just had a quick question on the packet. The last sentence of this was executive director has accepted findings and made a determination. Just wasn't quite sure what that accepted findings meant, just that you reviewed the information and support this path.
Yeah, and for specialty services like legal, it's a tool that's available to us through the procurement rules. It can be tricky to do an RFP for legal services. Sometimes we do that, but because of Allison's unique expertise for provision of these types of services, we have the ability to do a award through findings.
Thank you.
And then just a reminder of the alignment here. Allison reports her efforts to Jim's team, but a dotted line to the board chair and myself. So I always have her as a resource to tap into.
If I may say something, hi everybody, and thanks for your kind words. The not to exceed amount of 150 it's never going to exceed that. I think what my total charges this year were about under 40. So I anticipated it would be about the same. The not to exceed is just a top amount. It could be less as well. It just is for administrative ease. So just also wanted to say I've really enjoyed working with Jim and with the board and Ken and all of the staff. I think your staff are fabulous.
We appreciate you, fitting us in between awesome vacations. So
we even had a Zoom call from Italy, so she's full service even when on different time zones. So
right. All right, I need a vote, or I need somebody to make a motion. It's in the chat, and then we will vote on it.
I move to approve and authorize the executive director or their designee to sign a contract amendment to extend the term of contract number MC 2212-308 PSC for legal advice and counsel services to extend the term to June 30th, 2025 and increase the maximum contract value to $150,000.
Seconded by Kenzie.
All right, got a motion second, and all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes, and thank you again, Allison. We appreciate your service. All right, the next one here, we're going into executive session.
you want me to hightail it out of here for you guys to talk? I'm at your service.
I didn't know if we wanted to go into a separate room or keep you back. What do you think,
Yeah, my
Laurie?
proposal is to send you to a breakout room and then just let everybody know. People can stay in the main room if they want to be present for the open session. And just Ken, if you could just let us know about how much time you estimate you'll be in executive session when you.
I think we need 10 to 15 minutes is all.
Great.
And then let me know if you want me there. I'm happy to wait here for you to return. I want to make sure you have all the space you need to talk about the things you need to talk about.
Stand by, and we'll read this off in terms of the executive session. The MCD board will convene an executive session under ORS 192.660, 2I, and 192.6608 to evaluate the performance of an employee. And you can stop the recording or move us over to a room that doesn't have a recording.
And Tracy is on a really important break related to a wedding that she's been involved in personally. And so Lori is going to carry this item while she's away.
Sorry, Lori, I can invite you. Oh, you got it.
You got to start the recording.
Thank you.
All right, we're re-adjourned, started the meeting recording, and we are here to talk about compensation and the agreement that we have with Jim on his essentially his management contract with the district. And do I have somebody will make a motion on, and Lori, do you want to make any public comments about what's in this agenda item?
So this agenda item is to consider the third amendment to Jim Middaugh's contract as executive director for MCDD.
All right. And now if I could get one of my board members here to read that off, make a motion.
I got it, Ken. I
Thank you.
move to approve and authorize the third amendment to the employment agreement between Multnomah County Drainage District Number 1 and James Middaugh as discussed in executive session.
All right, do I have a second?
Second that.
All right. We'll just do a quick roll call vote. Darian.
Aye.
Kenzie.
Aye.
Nikki.
Aye.
Corky.
Aye.
And Kenna Anderton votes aye, unanimous. The motion passes. And I think
Nikki,
thanks for keeping me around, you guys. I feel very fortunate to be able to do this work.
What's that? Did I miss?
I was trying to confirm who seconded that motion.
Kenzie. All right, I think that's
your service, Jim.
Yeah,
thank
you,
guys.
Jim.
It's been a big year. Thank you for helping me work through all of the challenges. I'm truly grateful and feel very privileged and fortunate to be able to work with the team we have. So thank you very much. Look forward to getting smarter next year.
Well, here's to getting smarter, more healthier, and happier for 2024, you know. All right, I think that's the end of our agenda. Appreciate you. That was a long meeting, and I hope you all have an amazing holiday and enjoy the new year. See you on the other side.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks all. Take care.